Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. Today I wanted to do my wrap up for the 16th to the 20th books I've read in 2018 so far. So these are mostly March Mystery Madness reading. I'm going to start off with the only book that isn't a mystery, which is a nonfiction book, and it is American Wolfe, A True Story of Survival and Obsession in the West by Nate Blakeslee. This is a book that came out last year, in October last year, and it follows the Yellowstone wolves, an area in the US that is surrounded by Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. This Yellowstone Park is the home of wolves that have been reintroduced in the area. So there is a long past of wolves living in this area and then being killed so that they became extinct in this area, and then many years later there was a big push to reintroduce wolves to the area. The book itself is about the Yellowstone wolves particularly, so these wolves in particular, but it also inevitably talks about things to do with wolves that are universal. So for example, one of the things that is very prominent in this book is the behavior of the wolf as a pack animal, as a part of a group, and the group dynamics, fight between packs, and how important the group itself is, but also how easily it falls apart. Part of this book is a natural history just of the wolves themselves and their behaviors and some of the things that are particular to this area as a habitat for wolves. But a great deal of this book's about the people who have tried to keep them there, also about the people who are against them, the politics behind the wolf reintroduction, and the hunters that are against the legislation surrounding the protection of the species. It is a book that is incredibly frustrating to read. It is a good example of how destructive human beings can be. If you're looking for a general natural history about wolves, this isn't that, but it is really interesting in its own right. I think Blakeslee's writing is pretty straightforward, and he has more of a journalist approach to things. I was feeling a little bit let down by this, heavy on the legislation parts and less about the wolves themselves. I wrote about some of my problems with the book in my review and also highlighted some of the things I like best about it. The first mystery book that I read in the month of March was The Devotion of Suspect X by Keigo Higashino, which is part of a series. It's the Detective Galileo series. Basically, Detective Galileo is a physicist, and he's not actually working with the police. He's more of a consultant for the police. So there's a woman who kills her ex-husband right at the beginning of the book, and she kills her ex-husband together with her daughter, sort of in a self-defense situation, and then the neighbor who is a math teacher walks over to her apartment, helps her get rid of the body, and then helps her sort of clean up the mess and trying to figure out alibis for them and everything. So the math teacher is a friend of Detective Galileo. They are friends from university, so a lot of this book is about the interaction between the physicist and the math teacher, as both of them are really smart, and both of them are trying to figure each other out and where both of their parts are in this murder mystery. Right from the start, you know who has done the killing. You also know who is trying to hide the mess. So the thing that sort of drives this story is how long it's going to take until the police figures everything out. Or if they are going to figure everything out. A lot of the book is actually more like a cat and mouse thing. It's a thrilling read in that respect. Another thing I really liked about this book is that a lot of the decisions and actions of the characters are for me at least, they really mirror the way that Japanese society works and Japanese values. There's a lot of little things that makes me feel like this is very typically Japanese in the form of how the story progresses. Another thing I really liked about this book is that I find it very visual. It's very good at creating a setting and atmosphere, and also I think Higashino deals with emotions quite well, and how the emotions of the people involved change over time as the police are getting closer and closer to the truth. The people behind are getting more desperate. And I have written a full review, as I have for all of the other books, and all of the links will be in the description. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I will definitely be reading more Higashino in the future. Another Japanese fiction book that I just finished is Penance by Kanae and Minato. The 5 girls are playing in sort of the school field. It's in the middle of a Japanese holiday, so everyone is sort of away, and they're pretty much on their own there. A man comes up to them and asks for help for something. He says that he is working there, and he's going to fix something in the school, and he needs help from one of the girls. And they don't feel suspicious of this man because he's wearing work clothes, and it's not an era of suspicion against strangers. So they all volunteer to help him. But he wants one particular girl, so he takes her away, and they continue playing. She doesn't come back, and they start to get worried. They look for her, and they find her dead body. So that is how the book begins, how the fact that this girl died and the other 4 girls have seen the murderer. When the police comes and the parents come and everything, and they're trying to question the girls, they all say that they can't remember his face. The hunt for this man starts then, but no one knows how he looks, so it becomes almost impossible to find him. The rest of the book is separated into several individual narratives for each of the girls as they grow up to women, and how this event changed their lives. The title for this book, Penance, is actually because of the mother of the girl who died, Emily's mother. In her desperation and in her grief, she accuses the other girls of being murderers and sort of letting them the death happen. So she requires penance from them in sort of a fit of rage. And then she moves away. After this outburst from the mother, these girls shape their lives through this event and also through her words. And we see how much death follows. I really liked the individual narratives. I think that each individual narrative showed a lot of darkness and also imagination in some of the details, and how there is sort of a repetition in form to the original event that isn't as obvious until you've pretty much come to the end. I liked a lot of the individual narratives, but I found the conclusion and the tying of the narratives together to be less impressive. The narratives sort of blend together a bit. It also feels like the pacing is a little bit off. It's quite slow in a lot of the narratives, but then at the end it's really fast, and the background story for the murderer is so short that you don't really feel you don't really get a good grasp of the mind behind the crime. I'm still planning on reading Confessions by this author, but it was interesting, but it wasn't as good as I was hoping it to be. Next up, we have another one of the books I had on my March Mystery Madness TBR, and it is The Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie, which is the first Miss Marple mystery, and I had so much fun reading this. Miss Marple is a character I have never read. This particular book is about a crime that happens, a murder that happens in the house next to Miss Marple's house, obviously, so she gets involved in trying to solve the murder. The murder takes place in the vicarage, and the vicar is the narrator of the book. So you see Miss Marple digging for clues and talking to people and sort of doing detective work, but she's most seen through the end when she gives the big conclusion. She's not as present as Poirot is usually in the Poirot mysteries, because of the fact that she's not really that close to the narrator himself. She's not, they are just neighbors. Miss Marple is a really fun character. She is described as sort of a sneaky character who seems to be just this, like a non-threat for anyone, and she's just lurking behind the shadows, spying on people. I'm really looking forward to reading more of the Miss Marple mysteries, hopefully where she is more central to the book. Lastly, we have the biggest book among these, and also the most impressive of the ones I've read this month so far. It is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. So this is a historical mystery. It's set in the 14th century and it follows a particular monastery or an abbey. So there's a series of deaths in this abbey, and there's a mysterious library, and there is a lot of politics surrounding the Christian faith and the different interpretations of it. It is so many things, so much philosophy, so much religion, so much talk about literature and art and the value we put into books. I really liked it. I don't really like the narrator himself though. He is a very devout Christian. The detective of this book is William, who is, he is a monk also, but he is more open to different things and to question things and to find answers rather than just accept things as they are. And his search for the truth is what drives the story forward. I love him as a character. I found the whole books about books things and the library itself to be really interesting. I feel like there's a lot in this book that I haven't been able to untangle all of the things in this book, but as a mystery itself, it's fun. If you're looking for historical fiction, this is definitely one you should read if you're into the 14th century. If you are interested in Christian politics of the time, absolutely read this. If you like Latin as well, then it might be worth picking this up because there's a lot of Latin in this that isn't translated, which is one of the things I wish there were translations in the notes at least. But I definitely will be rereading this book in the future because I know I haven't even, like, I feel like there's so much left for me to discover in this book. But as I said in the beginning, I've written full reviews for all of these that I'm hopefully a little bit more well-spoken in. There were a few things I didn't like about it, but in the greater sense of it, it was an experience. So I will leave it at that. So those are the 16th to 20 books I've read in 2018 so far in the March Mystery Madness reading I've done. I don't think I will be reading any more murder mysteries in the month of March, but we shall see. If you've read any of these, I would love to hear your thoughts about them. If you have any recommendations, I'm always open for those. I hope you're having a really good day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.